Welcome to the Queer Witch Project, your resource for all things queer and witchy. I am Damona Peacock, a fabulous, non-binary, neurospicy ordained queerdo with a fascination for all things cycles, symbolism, and patterns.
And I'm Moonkittee, your queer femme, poly kitchen witch, and proud geek. Today's topic is queer basics, getting started with crystal magic.
Yay!
Woohoo!
Earth magic. That's
Yes.
what the first thing I think of with crystals is like this is Mama Earth in some of her most beautiful forms.
Yes. No, crystal magic was honestly my intro. Even
Oh,
faster than candle magic was crystal magic. So again, even as a kid, it goes back to those things that you're always interested in, like mythology, before you realize you're pagan or polyamorous or anything like that. But no, I always thought rocks were cool. I always loved rocks. So earth magic, why crystals? Because it's easy. They're everywhere.
powerful.
They're powerful. There is a
Yeah.
very low barrier to entry. You can go out and you
It's a
can pick up a
vibe.
rock.
Pick up a rock. I was really little, as like under adulthood. I grew up in a family with limited means, and travel was something I always like deeply in my heart aspired to do,
Hmm.
but didn't have the means to do. But I'd know people who would travel, and they'd be like,
Right.
"Do you want me to pick you up anything on my travels? Do you want a souvenir?" And I'd be like, "Bring me home a rock. I just want a piece of earth from that place that I don't know
Hmm.
if I'll ever go to."
Right. And that's great. I love the idea. This is where things get challenging. Is as kids, this is where we want, and I absolutely respect that. And it's like, yeah, you want to bring home a piece of that place. Now, as I'm an older adult pagan, you don't take pieces of the places and bring them home.
Oh, the innocence of childhood.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
It's one of
when
the things that's
we
really hard. You don't do that. Now that you know now the spirit and the entity of the place, you do not do that. Please don't go to Hawaii and take home Hawaiian rocks, lava
yeah,
rocks. Please do not do so.
right. And
But
really
also,
that should pass on to many places that
yes, any desert
especially if
landscape,
it's some kind
national
of
parks, sacred areas,
yeah,
don't
all of
take the
that.
rocks. But beyond that, they are portable, usually.
In some manifestations.
In some kind of things for rocks and crystals if you want to work with them.
And you're going
Um,
to find them accessible in places like metaphysical shops have a lot of crystals
mhm,
and rocks that they sell, jewelry shops, fairs and
mhm,
booths of jewelry or, just rocks, people who make things so they sell the rocks and they give
mhm.
them and they make stuff out of them and you'll find them in so many different ways. And the thing is they have a vibe. You sometimes you have
Flippity.
drawn to something
Hmm.
pagans tend to tune into. Not all.
Yes. No, that was going to be one of the things is like the first question I get when I'm talking to someone who's new about crystals and magic and stuff like that. It's like, well, how do I choose the right crystal? And the answer is they'll come to you, right?
They'll choose you.
Exactly. Kind of like the cat distribution system, right? It's the crystals have a personality and they have a vibe. And sometimes you will literally go, "Oh my God, that's a cool rock." And you don't know why. You may have never ever in your life had an interest in rocks. And you will walk by and say, "Oh, that's cool."
You're my baby now.
Exactly. It's one of those things that you could, like you said, they just have a vibe to them and you sometimes will often be drawn to them.
Yes.
Find a pretty rock. Yeah, find a pretty rock. If you're walking the seashore or you're walking the riverbed and you look down and you see rocks, oftentimes there are fancy rocks and there are rocks with properties, and we'll talk about all of those. But one of the first tools in my magical kit were rocks from the river, because I lived by a river, that one had a reddish tint to it for fire, one had a whitish tint that I used for air, one was more brown, and one was more blue tints, and they were my elemental rocks. And I used
Mm-hmm.
those very early on in my practice and still have them tucked away
Aw.
someplace around. So again, you can use them as kind of a basic thing. But I mean, kids love to give you rocks. Kids will find a rock, find a beautiful rock, say that it's pretty, and come up and run it up to you if you have kids around you.
I even love the painted rocks. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I always love the idea of I made this little art and I'm leaving it to be found.
Hmm.
And, to just brighten somebody's day at random. But yeah, they find you. You find
Hmm.
them.
You can be gifted to them like forgotten childhood treasures or like gifts of jewelry. Like you can
Yep,
suddenly go
exactly.
through.
Inheritances, you
Hmm.
can inherit them from family members. I inherited a huge, to me, chunk of amethyst after my mom passed away that was once hers, and it fit perfectly in the palm of my hand. I carried it around in my purse for
Hmm.
way too long because it's heavy.
Yes.
And but yeah, therefore it takes on the property of reminding you of someone or feeling like
Hmm.
someone's with you,
Hmm.
whoever gifted it to you. Like I'm a deeply sentimental person.
Hmm. And again, like you said, there's just finding pretty things at a marketplace. If you are out at any sort of outdoor fair, there's probably going to be a shop that's selling a booth at some point that has crystal jewelry or crystals and rocks and cut crystals or different things. It's so accessible. I said it, to me, it's even more accessible than candles, but just as easily as accessible as herbs and other things too. So they are there and easy to get.
And I tend to look at some of my crystals, gems, rocks
Hmm.
as just like I look at like stuffed animals. Like they have their own personality, their
Hmm.
own attitude, their own purpose, sometimes a name,
Hmm.
sometimes their own specific dwellings. They go and do things. They have their own magic.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I guess it could just be in my head or it could be other people's experience, but I just see them as elemental personalities
Hmm. I
that you
could
can work
absolutely
with.
see that.
Yes. Crystals, when you're looking, shopping, whatever, they can come in different forms.
Hmm.
So they can be polished, they could be raw, they could be different shapes.
Hmm.
Is there any significance to if you are like collecting crystals for
Hmm.
magical purposes? Are there any bonuses or, how do you choose? There's so many options.
I think it's going to be one of those things that when it comes down to it, ultimately it's going to be your choice, your style, and your aesthetic. What are you drawn to? Does it matter if it's polished or not? Or does it have to be natural cut? Not really. I mean, polished stones are really easy and they're pretty because polished stones are shiny. Natural cut stones are not. So there's going to be a different kind of energy that
Mm.
and different kind of aesthetic that you're drawn to, whether you're talking about a polished stone or a natural cut stone. It's really going to be a matter of your choice. But is one wrong versus another? No, I have polished amethyst. I have rock amethyst. I have clusters. I have geodes. I have lots of different things of various, because amethyst is one of my favorite stones. So it's easily accessible where I am at. So it's one of those things that I have it in a variety of forms. And depending, I may use a shiny one in magic that's more centered to be a little bit more bright or a little bit more energetic. If it needs that kind of like pretty energy to it, I don't know how else to say it other than that. And I
Uh-huh.
might use a more raw cut if I'm trying to deal with something that's more of a naturally nature-based energy or something that's a little bit more rough, a little bit more raw or primal. I might use a raw cut for something like that. But I love my various spheres, and a sphere is not a natural geometric shape for the most part. I will take that back because there are a couple of specific types of stones that you can get in Ireland that come out that are spherical. But beyond that, there are lots of different things, but generally a sphere, a round ball, is not a natural shape. So that's, if you want to stare into a crystal ball, it's going to be a cut and polished crystal ball, right? But for the most part, the shape itself, same thing. It can have practical purposes and you can use it for various things, but the power of the stone itself is going to be the primary. The shape is just going to be a boost to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've
Well,
got it like
speaking
a,
of boosts, like I know that if you get one that has like a point,
mhm,
it can become like a concentration, like a wand,
right.
like a concentration of energy. So
Exactly.
you could take that stone's property and the energy that you give into the stone and direct it.
Yeah, like a pyramid or a spire or something else. With the point, exactly. It's a pointed single direction. So you can cast energy out, like if you have it on the tip of a wand, you can have it on an altar and have it draw the energy in to the stone. So it's kind of it's either a receiving receptacle or a expressive receptacle kind of thing. So it can kind of go in or it can kind of go out. And it's kind of directionally organized, oriented rather, however you want to do it. So that can help. But there are also double pointed
Mm.
spheres. And for double points on either end, that energy can flow in any direction. It can flow
Mm.
either way depending on where you're angling it, how you want it to go. It's the ebb and the flow. And then again, spherical, this again has the time and place for that idea of containment.
Mhm.
Spherical is great for
Like it
containment.
contains a message and you can
Right.
literally there are people who glance and gaze into crystal balls
Hmm.
or black mirrors,
Right.
scrying.
Scrying. It's a different kind of thing. So it can be used in a number of different shapes, a number of different ways. Um,
If I'm helping someone through heartache or emotional situations or relationship issues, A prescription could be a heart-shaped
Mm-hmm.
stone companion
Mm-hmm.
to help facilitate healing, depending on what you choose, color and stone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And or another favorite my shape is the worry stone shape, which is usually
Yes.
oval, but it's got a kind of an indent in that you can rub your thumb across.
Like one of the
Um,
best original fidget toys.
Exactly. It's again that helps again pull the energy of that stone into your body in a way if you need to stim or you need to have some sort of distraction or something on that. So there's lots of different ways. Another one that I love, and it's kind of silly, is there was again a period of time where stones had words carved into them. I
Oh,
think of
yeah.
stones and runes, but there's stones with words carved into them. I will also love that kind of thing because, again, especially you have to be careful, but when it is paired with the magic of that stone, with what that word represents, that combination of the stone and the word acting as a sigil to amplify the properties of that stone, that's incredibly important. But there, you have to be a little bit discerning because you don't want to have, say, the word abundance scrawled into a black hematite or a black onyx or something like that, where that's not what the base nature of the stone is for. So if you want an abundance of walls and protection around you, that might be great, but it might also be stifling. So you have to really kind of
Use
know
your
a little bit more about it if you're going to do that kind of
yeah.
combination. But ultimately, rough cut, natural, pointed, not pointed, however you want to do it, what works best for you.
Okay, so I've heard many people talking about cleansing their stones. Can you tell
Mhm.
me more about that?
So it's one of those things that you think about. It's an earth element. Again, why does the earth need? Aren't we cleansing things from? Aren't we cleansing using salt, which is from the earth? So isn't salt really a crystal and a rock? And so why is a rock cleansing a rock? Kind of a thing. But at the same time, I tend to think of crystals more like I think of tarot decks, in the sense that crystals and rocks absorb your ambient energy. So they have their goal and what kind of energetic properties they maintain, but they're also, because of the earth, they absorb the energy around them. And over time, just like your tarot decks can absorb the ambient energy around them, or too much energy if too many people are touching them, or whatever it may be. Sometimes it's nice to give them a good little bit of clarification and cleansing, a little salt, a little moon water. There's so many different ways. You can, under running water, super easy. Put them in a bowl and run your tap water over them. That's running water. You don't have to go find a stream, but that's nice and fancy and aesthetic and as heck and everything else. But you can absolutely put your rocks in a colander and put them in a sink and turn the faucet on.
Although I do think that there are some that aren't great with in water. So
Nature of the rock.
might want to look some stuff up because like, well, for example, I know that there is this whole movement of putting crystals in water and then drinking the water, and there are definitely some stones, like
That's,
I've been
yeah,
told malachite,
that
that
is
you
not the
don't.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're
I know
pouring
those are
running water
different
over it,
things.
yeah. But
Yeah,
if you are trying to infuse the crystal into water, yes, there are definitely some stones you don't want to do that. Malachite being one of them, and a few others. Because yes,
and
some of the,
also like if there's stones that are damaged by water. I'm not sure, but I think I remember selenite being broken down by water because it's such a salty stone.
it can, and like everything else, it's about moderation. If you're going to know the stone, gypsum also is a very porous, very soft stone. So yes, it can, if it is held in water prolonged,
Right.
then yes, you wouldn't want to leave a selenite or you wouldn't want to leave a gypsum in water for 2 months while you're cleansing it. But
Yeah.
if you put it in a sink with a low running, not a pressure washer, right? But a,
So
a
rinsing them off.
slow rinsing for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they're going to be fine. They're probably even going to be fine overnight in water if you want to moon water cleanse them. But with that,
Or you
know
can
the
just
properties of your stone. But
moonlight
yeah,
cleanse them.
but you can moonlight or starlight cleanse them if you don't want to do that. Also, this is where a polished versus a natural stone may also affect it, because if it's a polished stone, it's going to have less, it'll still get the cleansing, but it will absorb less than a rough cut
Right.
would.
Right.
So you might, if you have a polished selenite heart, that might be just fine underwater for a longer period of time than a raw selenite wand. So
Right.
again, keeping those things in mind. So yeah, running water, moonlight, salt, starlight, like we said, salt. Yes, you can cleanse your rock with a rock.
Hmm. Yep. And selenite is one of those that tends to be very neutral and will neutralize the energy of other stones around it. So like
Hmm.
you can pair them up and they can be buddies.
Yes, and get that little bit of a boost. Also, radiant energy. This is one of those things that used to be called white light, but I really don't like that term white light. I think it's misleading and it has a lot of connotations that are not what it should be in the sense of culturally colonialization, misogyny in a lot of different ways. So I love the idea of radiant energy, but again, that focusing and directing of holding a stone in your palm, setting on a table, holding your hands over it if you have access to Reiki or other kind of energetic, pushing energy, clean energy through that stone to, again, with the idea of directing out any negative or ambient energy that's being held onto it that needs to be cleaned and refreshed. So radiant energy can also do that. So lots of different ways. Like I said, any way you can do a tarot deck, you can probably cleanse your crystal. I just wouldn't recommend putting your tarot decks underwater.
Right. And I mean, I know this is something we'll talk about later, but sometimes crystals and tarot decks live together.
Yes, they do.
They also buddy up.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, but actually, that kind of cuts into the
Good
idea of
segue.
just like crystals go with anything because they are the nature-based kind of thing. Crystals can go with the idea of divination, which to me is a very air elemental thing because you're looking for messages and communication. So the idea of tarot is a very air-centric thing, but the crystal can boost it. Crystal can boost fire magic. So if you're putting a crystal ring or having your candle holder be in a crystal container, that can also amplify the ambient energy of something. You'll see a lot of people put crystals. There's now a big trend rather for putting crystal chips inside your candles. And as it burns down, the crystal chips and things can come out. We've talked about various things, putting things in candles. Crystals are great for inside of a candle because they're not going to burn up.
Burn.
So they can boost the energy of the candle magic by being either inside the wax or outside externally and without potentially causing a fire hazard or otherwise damaging that magic. It's a great booster. It's a great boost. So if you think of salt as the flavoring for food, crystals can be the flavoring for any kind of magic you do.
The other thing is, if magic can be very energetic, very ethereal, very like you're kind of out there, almost outside your body moments. And crystals can be very grounding because they do connect you back to earth, back to physicality, back to your body. And so I like to pair crystals with the tarot decks because the crystals kind of cleanse the deck, but the crystals can be present in the spread or the reading as well, and they can ground the message. And I really like having that tether, that energy symbiosis, if you will.
Absolutely. And like there are different properties of tarot, there are different properties of crystals. And we've talked about them in many different ways, the same with candle magic, especially when you're talking about color.
Right.
Here. So what's really cool about crystals is that it kind of follows that idea of the universal spectrum of light and how different colors across mean the same thing across multiple different types of physicality. So red, the idea of red generally is known as passion or fire or creativity. It's kind of become this universal concept of what is red. You think of things that are exciting and passionate, or you think of stop, which is a kind of anger or just kind of this emotional high intensity energy.
It's supposed to be eye-catching, which is why we have stop signs or other signs in red. It's a bright, loud.
But yeah, high intensity.
Yeah.
So red stones tend to be around our high intensity stones. They're going to have that idea that is centered around that passion, fire, creativity. Pink stones, slightly softer. Yeah, exactly. It is romantic love, self-love, especially, even more than romantic love, sweetness, that softer idea of something that's toned,
Red,
that's
but less
pulled from
loud.
passion. Yeah, exactly. Yellowstones, generally,
Hey,
again,
that's a park.
yes.
No,
No,
I had to make the joke. Yellowstone.
oh, got it. Sorry,
It's a
took me a
park.
second. It's a park. Yes, it is a park. But no, Yellowstone's sun energy, travel, platonic love. It's again that kind of ideas that cross candle colors, stone colors. Again, each stone is going to have their own different properties, but the general
Black stones tend to
nature.
be for protection.
Exactly.
Energy, like soaking up negative energy to protect you from energies you don't want to be soaking up personally. So they
Exactly.
can be like a shield.
Green stones are abundance, wealth, or other
Many, many,
nature.
many, money's green for a reason.
Abundance, exactly.
Yeah.
Blue tends to be knowledge, movement. Think of water flowing, movement kind
Mm,
of things, and emotions tend to
right.
be. There's a reason why we say we're blue when we're
Aw,
sad or upset.
I'm.
Um, Purple tends to be spiritual connection or transcendence, transformation,
Mm.
going
Yep.
from one to the next. And yeah, brown, lots of browns too. Tend to think of
Hmm.
brown as earth, but that's your nature-based gifts. That's the amplification of nature comes out in brown stones.
And then there's the clear or white,
Hmm.
which is also tends to be a very cleansing and or neutralizing
Hmm.
energy of a stone. So you can get the, kind of yin and yang balance of a black and a white stone to
Hmm.
work again in symbiosis and kind of cover a lot of bases that way. And I like you talked about your little rocks, elemental rocks.
Hmm.
It's really easy to grab stones that a red, a yellow, a green, a
Hmm.
blue for each element, a black, a white for, as above, so below, and throw them out as, an altar
Hmm.
or on an altar as
Exactly.
contributing to the altar.
Exactly. And like I said, that's because they're the idea of a carrier. They hold the elements while being of an element, they have and the ability to amplify all of the other elements as well. And again, clear is great because clear is like the white candle. It can be used for anything.
Right.
If you don't have access for anything else, find a clear quartz. That thing will do anything you want it to.
So, what are some of the best, since you mentioned quartz, what are
Hmm.
some of the best kind of like starter crystals that you would recommend to people who are like, I've always been drawn to crystal magic, I want to get started? What's like your go-to immediate buy? Like, this is the first stone I always recommend. And by first stone, I mean, give me a list. Give me several. Because quartz, of course, is
Quartz.
probably on that list.
Quartz is number one. There is
Yeah,
hands down quartz is number one. It is by far the easiest accessible, especially if you're in Northern California, or Northern America, Northern Hemisphere. I'm not as familiar with Southern Hemisphere stones, other than finding some really cool ones that have come into my collection over the years. But quartz is pretty universal throughout the world. So finding quartz is probably the number one. Again, it's easy to plane, it amplifies, and it connects everything. It is the universal.
I know
Selenite.
there are certain places that you can just go and pick up quartz off the ground.
Yes, if you've got
It can
limestone
be very common,
areas, you can find quartz
especially
very soon.
places that have been mined,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times the gold and the quartz were found together and they
Mm-hmm.
had to separate them and they didn't care about the quartz.
Right. Selenite. This is one that I know that you use quite often, and you mentioned
Yes.
for purification and cleansing.
It is the
Um,
salt of stones. That's how I always see selenite. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. Like, don't do it because I say this, but you could lick it. It'd probably be salty. I
so
don't
yeah,
recommend licking stones. That's probably
yeah.
not a good
Please,
idea.
please don't lick your stones for the same hematite reason that we talked
And if
about
you did,
earlier.
don't tell them I told you to.
Um, but along with selenite, rose quartz. So
Yes,
if quartz, of clear or white quartz is the general universal, rose quartz is anything that relates to love.
right.
Having, again, anything self-love, romantic love. You can use a platonic love, even though I said that was yellow earlier. Again, it still falls into the idea of love.
Rose quartz
Anything
would definitely handle that vibe.
exactly. Rose quartz, just boom, having that handle for love magic, because as every practicing witch knows, the first time you tell anyone that you are a witch or you do magic, they're going to ask you about love magic because it's this universal thing that we all go through. So have a rose quartz on hand. Amethyst. And again,
I
I've
mentioned
been,
my mom's amethyst.
yeah. And again, your mom wasn't particularly spiritual from what I understand
You
and
know,
everything else.
she wasn't, but she was very superstitious. So they're not the same, but sometimes I feel like they
Hmm.
kind of are bastard cousins of each other or something.
Exactly. And
And she was very drawn to crystals. I don't know that she had the same relationship with them or defined that relationship the same way I do, but it's funny that it manifests weird ways.
right, and the thing with crystals, again, they manifest the properties of them cross spiritual or religious boundaries, because you can find these stones in carved as the base of statues, carved as rosaries, carved as relics in every culture
Right.
that has some sort of
Precious gems
tangible
and
things. You can find them made in various gems and things like that. So
jewelry,
again, these cross
statues.
across all of that. But yeah, amethyst, near and dear to my heart. There's been,
Same.
if selenite is to you, amethyst is to me. It is the
Mm.
one of the first stones that I was drawn to, mostly because
So
it's
it's
purple.
purples in the in the realm of psychic.
Yeah, psychic connection, transformation.
Hmm.
Especially when I was learning to step into who I am. First, as a baby witch, hiding in the closet, coming back out of the closet, and even before I even came out of the closet, I took as a name Amethyst. And it was really one of those things that, again, it's because of that idea of transformation and nature. And before I understood it was about transformation, it was still being drawn to. So it becomes this thing.
You
So I have a lot of amethyst.
you keep saying amethyst, and my brain keeps going to Steven Universe and the crystal gems.
And that
And
is a completely different interpretation of
how much
amethyst.
Rebecca Sugar knew about the magical properties of crystals when she created these characters.
Hmm.
And so I love Amethyst, that character in that cartoon series. So,
She's a little wild for me. She's a little more
well,
than I think I can be with Amethyst, but I do love her. I do.
I love her.
I love Steven Universe. It's great.
Yes,
Um,
Peridot was also one of my. I mean, like we could go down a whole rabbit
yes.
hole, but like I just love seeing it in pop culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's one that is I would recommend, but it's not one that I know you're familiar with at first. Is moss agate.
Mm-hmm.
And because a lot of what moss agate is, it's a white stone that has like green creeping through it. So it has that idea of moss in that white stone. So it's very natural and elemental, but also it helps relieve anxiety.
Mm.
It is a stone that really does help with the grounding of nature and grounding of mental stress and strain, especially. So if you are like
Need
me,
more of that,
anywhere
Violet.
near on the have anxiety or
Yeah.
depression or anything like that, or have dealt with any sort of trauma, moss agate is your friend.
Noted.
So yeah, moss agate is phenomenal and it's beautiful and
Yes.
it's cool.
Green is my favorite color, so I've always drawn to the moss agate, the malachite, the
Hmm.
emeralds or jade,
Yes.
because I just like green.
I know. The thing is, of these my top starter ones, I'm not putting the ones that I'm drawn onto. These are because there are several. I'm gonna mention a couple more that I think you need to have if you're only going out and guiding this. But you're gonna be drawn. So like
Yeah,
malachite, I am fully drawn to malachite. I am fully drawn
yeah,
to lapis lazuli, especially. But that's a me thing, and that's where I'm done. But if you're asking me what my favorite starter crystals are, if I'm telling you
yeah.
what to get, yes, I want you to get those because they're awesome. But wait till you find one that calls to you. These are the ones you really really want. And the flip side of moss agate is its sister is rainbow fluorite
Mm.
in that it's clear, but it has the purple green striations through it, and that one helps with mental clarity and emotional balance. So between if you have any sort of trauma that you're dealing with, or trauma processing, you pair moss agate with rainbow fluorite, and they're gonna help. They're gonna help calm, take the edge off, do anything that you're doing, and especially if you're talking about doing magical working. Even if you don't have PTSD, you don't have trauma influences in your life. Somehow you manage to make it through the world and you're not dealing with depression, anxiety, trauma, or anything else around it. You're still being and trying to work with magic. You're working with vibrational energy, right? That's going to be chaotic. And the rainbow fluorite and the moss agate will calm the energetic vibrations while working magic. So again, it's
Side note:
just,
rainbow fluoride is very soft.
yes, it is.
It can break easy. Be
It,
careful. Be gentle with it.
yes, be very, very gentle with it.
Yeah, that's the other thing is some of the stones are more sturdy than others.
Hmm. Yeah.
Some can be like selenite, depending on what form it's in, it can break up really easily,
Hmm.
flake apart. So that is, and then some are like, quartz is pretty darn strong.
Hmm.
So
But it can still,
again, like their different properties kind of add to their
hmm,
personalities and their purpose.
hmm. And then you mentioned before onyx and obsidian, hematite, all of those, any sort of a black or dark stone
Protection stone.
have a protection stone. I personally, I love obsidian. I know others love onyx, and hematite's another one of those. It's not quite black, but it can act as a protection stone if you
It's
need it.
reflective
It's
and
reflective, exactly.
magnetic sometimes.
So those are my best: quartz, selenite, rose quartz, amethyst, moss agate, rainbow fluorite, and obsidian or onyx.
It'll get you started.
It'll get you started. Top 7. And you can find them in lots of different ways. Again, you can get them from, ideally, you want to get them from, again, a metaphysical shop or someplace that you know is sourcing them small business
That's the thing I
vendor,
wanted to
but
say is there are ways you can look into how different rocks are sourced and
yes.
from where,
Hmm.
and whether those places are using ethical practices that are both respectful of the nature of where the stone is coming from, the
Hmm.
environment, and also the labors that is it takes to extract them from the earth. So if you are somebody who is passionate about that kind of thing and want to research how to ethically source or how to seek out ethically sourced crystals. There are ways to do that. I highly
Hmm.
encourage it.
Hmm.
Have a conversation with the shop owners and say, where do these come from? Are
Hmm.
they ethically sourced? Like what is your source? How do they come into the market?
Hmm.
And that's your right to ask that. Now,
Hmm.
of course, who knows if they know or if they I think somebody who has good ethics will know and will make that effort. I know
Hmm.
of several shop owners who have done their research to so that they could say I have my inventory is as ethically sourced as I can possibly have.
Hmm.
So, if that's something that matters to you, it's worth looking into.
Hmm. And if you're not sure, you can also, again, do a cleansing and doing an offering. Definitely know some of the best places you can find crystals right now is in the TikTok shop. They'll
Mm,
sell you different crystal sets and things like that. Do you know if they're ethically sourced or not? Potentially, probably, maybe, maybe not. You don't know. But if you're going to someplace like that because that's your easiest access to them, maybe you don't have a local metaphysical store because you're in the tiny middle bit of the Midwest and can't get there, but you have access to TikTok and TikTok
right.
ships, or I don't want to say the Bezos giant, something like that. If you're going to do something like that, make sure that you are again cleansing them very, very well, but also say a prayer or give some sort of offering back to the people, to the entities, to where it came from, as kind of an acknowledgement of, I'm not sure where you came from, but I hope that wherever you are at, this was done, you are at peace, you are well, you are healthy. May this come through and give that kind of blessing back to wherever they came from to kind of help offset some of that.
So, we've talked about their personalities, their vibe,
Hmm.
why we're drawn to them, their colors, how to get started. But say you get your stones and you have them, what do we do with them? What are what are different ways they can be used? I know we've already kind of touched upon some. Like, I know for me, I have a set of stones that I love,
Hmm.
and they sit in a particular box with a deck, and they will get thrown into readings when I create spreads for people.
Hmm.
I'll put the stones in there, kind of decorates it up. It, like I said, adds a grounding agent to the message. It helps ground me into the work that I'm doing. Again, partnering them up with decks is one of the ways I tend to use them on a regular
Hmm.
basis. What are other things that we can do with them?
So many different things, loose and on their own. So you can put them on your altar. But honestly, one of the things that I learned is I will do a cleansing. I will put a rock quartz crystal in every corner of my rooms.
Mm,
Tuck them in every corner. It just helps amplify the energy, especially in my workspace. I'll put them around the house corners or bury them on property corners of my house to act as wards.
windowsills,
Windowsills, absolutely. Every windowsill has a quartz crystal in
or could
it.
have an onyx or
Hmm.
a
Yeah, whatever you want to do there, put it in your purse and wallet. It's really, really great if you're trying to do abundance magic with abundance stones, so green stones, keeping that in your wallet or in your purse
you
where
say
you are trying
wallet,
to
but
attract
sometimes
money in.
right. You say wallet, but sometimes I call my bra my wallet,
Hey, you
and
can
I
tuck
have
them in
been
there
known
too.
to put stones in there from time to time. Especially if I'm going to a ritual, a festival, a convention,
Hmm.
somewhere where there's going to be a multitude of magical practitioners whose energy is amped up from the
Hmm.
event, the connection, the purpose of the gathering. I will have my own little personal energy bubble protectors
Hmm.
in my chakra energy body of, right in my heart space.
Hmm. Not only can you tuck them, but you can also wear them. Crystals are in jewelry all
Right.
the time.
Wrap them. Like I love the artistry of wire wrapped crystals,
Hmm.
but also just like, gemstones and crystals get turned into jewelry very often, and
Hmm.
then they really do become like your buddy, your companion.
Hmm.
They also can have sentimental value depending on if they were a gift from a loved one or, gifted with the intention of
Hmm.
healing or memory or inheritance. So
Hmm.
wearing your beautiful stone buddies, rock buddies
Yes.
is a big one.
I have always also kept them in my car. So I
Yeah.
have an obsidian for protection, and I have a tiger's eye also for clear sight and for protection in its own kind of way. So I have a tiger eye and an obsidian in my car at all
That's good.
times.
Let them absorb the road rage and not your car.
Absolutely. Once
Yeah,
upon a time, I used to have, they were in crystal points. I'd hung them from my rearview mirror, which is very definitely a thing for a period of time. I have since taken them down, mostly because my partner says they distract them when they're driving my car, which I get. I just learned to tune it out. But no, but now they sit in my glove compartment. But even still, having them in my car, same thing. It acts as the protective element and the combating road rage.
the funny thing is I have a necklace that is like a red dragon eye that
Hmm.
is technically I purchased it for my Aries child, but that kid does not wear necklaces.
Hmm.
He won't keep them on.
Hmm.
So I was like, fine, I'll just put it in my rearview mirror, and it's a fire dragon, and it's protecting our little chariot here.
Yep.
And every time I look at it, I think of my Aries child, and I think of you and dragon, your connection with dragon. But I also have a charm that is a Bridget's cross,
Hmm.
and there's some kind of a rowan berry, I want to say. My best friend made for me.
Hmm.
So I also have that strung on there because then I've got the protection of Bridget and kind of that mom vibe,
Hmm.
mom car vibe. And then I think I also have a little flower clip to it because it was my youngest child's hair accessory. And
Hmm.
so it's like to me it's this is why I drive safely.
Hmm.
And I have these protections and that these people, that I care about, that everybody has those kind
Hmm.
of people in their lives, and that's why we drive safely and we let the road
Yes.
rage go.
Hmm.
We don't
Absolutely.
act out on that.
No. And again, it also is asking them to protect us from that same kind of
Right.
thing. And
Exactly. Other people having the rage against the
mhm,
machines.
yes.
Because I think that's the thing about driving, and I love the idea of having the crystals in your car for this, but driving dehumanizes us. I don't know if you've noticed,
Oh
but
God,
like,
yes. Yeah.
yeah, instead of seeing people behind the wheel as humans, we just see the machines, and then we're like, ah, human. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Because people are stupid, and
right.
drivers especially.
And I also think of like, I mean, this is totally a tangent, but like, I always think of like the freeways and the roads as like vessels and veins on the
Hmm.
earth because there's so much human energy being flow. It's like it's a
Mm-hmm.
river of humans.
Right.
So there's this flow of energy to it because the machines itself has energy, the humans are, energy, and so there's a lot of energy out there on the roads, and the stones are great companions to help you
Yes.
mitigate a lot of that.
Absolutely. Also, crafts. Any sort of crafting thing that you do, oftentimes I will tuck stones into crafts. If I'm making decorative type of crafts,
Mm.
stones go into that
I
quite
have
often.
put stones in stuffed animals that I create with crochet
Mm-hmm.
or
Build-A-Bear style.
amigurumi. So you put the stuffing in, and in the center of the stuffing, you can put a stone or several,
Mm-hmm.
and those stones have purpose and they give their so their personality becomes the personality of the stuffed animal, and those become gifts for people for certain reasons, like
Mm-hmm.
I made you this, it's got love in this, a love stone in it for you, or it's got a protection stone in it for
Mm-hmm.
you, or it's got a cleansing stone in it for you, whatever the purpose is. I have found that that's a really fun way to use it in my crafts.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. There's also something that I know is very popular, but for all of my crystal magic, I've never actually really done, and those are crystal grids. There
Yeah, I've
are a
seen them.
whole, they're very beautiful.
Yeah.
Usually require a lot of stones, but there's set patterns that you can set and place crystals in to amplify the energy of one off the other to get the most power and stuff out of it. So that is also another way to use them, is to use it in a grid format that is
Yeah.
purposely designed to amplify the magic of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Those are very cool. I've seen them set up in metaphysical shops. I've seen
Hmm.
people who have them on their altar at home. I've never done it, but it's very cool.
Hmm.
I mean, I've seen it.
Hmm.
I felt it.
Yes.
And those are just probably, again, we're probably scratching the surface, right? There's probably many ways that we haven't thought of that other people like to use.
Yes, and there are so many stones. There are so many stones out
Yeah.
there that are native to different parts of the world that have different properties. I highly, highly encourage you to find out what's native to your area, see what properties they have, seek out the ones that are drawn to you. And if you are drawn to a rock that you're not sure of, at a place where you can ask what it is, look up the properties of it, see what it is you might be needing to bring into your life, or look where your you're at. It's to me, again, it's like herbs. There's so many of them out there. You can never catch them all. These are not Pokemon. You're gonna have a bunch of different things and a bunch of different ways to get them, but all they can do is just amplify and help, and you will find your own purposes for them. But they're just such a great tool to have. I wanted to make sure that we talked about them.
And I'm sure much like I have done with insects and animals and plants, you can probably do a Google image search if you don't know what kind of rock you've got in your hand. And you're
Exactly.
trying to make, a come in deeper relationship with it. So what is it that we've called this stone? What magical properties has it said to have had?
And there are so many books on crystals and crystal magic and the properties of crystals that I
And
have a,
probably websites
yep.
and
I have a
probably passionate people on TikTok talking about it or selling them.
I have at least two tarot decks, or rather, I have two oracle decks that also
That's
focus on
right.
stones as well. So there's so many different ways that you can get information. So even if you can't get to an actual stone, you might be able to find an oracle deck about stones and use that to give you the energetic boost that you need for those various stones if you can't physically get your hands on them.
If you have a deep relationship with a particular kind of stone and you're seeking out like runes or something, you can try to probably find runes that are carved into that
Mm-hmm.
polished stone. I
Mm-hmm.
know that there are people out there that make things like that.
Yep.
So just another wonderful way of being able to use them. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Again, this is probably a broad topic that we're just, probably not able to cover all of it. But
Scratching the surface.
curious, interested, and those who are passionate, I hope maybe we introduced some new ideas, and maybe you've got some new ideas to share with us. And there's comment section, a lot of these places.
Tell us your favorite stone.
Yeah, tell us what your favorite stone is and how you work with it. I'd love to hear from them. Do you feel like we've covered
I think that's
topic?
pretty good. I think we've got a pretty good overview of it. Yeah.
Well, with that, then I just want to say thank you for listening to the Queer Witch Project. And if you like what you heard, make sure you give us some of those stars or thumbs up, subscriptions, ratings, comments. We just love hearing from you.
Absolutely. And if there's a topic you'd like to know more about or an episode topic you'd like to suggest, contact us at thequeerwitchproject@gmail.com or find us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram with the handle @queerwitchproject. We upload every other week. And remember, queerness is a key to magic.
Be yourself and love rebelliously.
Please. Bye.
I know we need it. Love needs it.